All right, let's talk about your heart. And I don't mean as some kind of poetic symbol. I'm talking about a high-performance engine. In this explainer, we're going to dive into the absolutely incredible drama that unfolds inside your chest every time you go for a run, and see how your heart pulls off a feat of engineering that is just mind-blowing.
You've definitely felt this, right? That moment your muscles are burning, you're gasping for air, but somehow your heart is just hammering away, keeping up with the insane demand. How in the world does it manage that frantic pace without completely falling apart? So, to get our heads around this, think of it like a Formula One pit stop. When you're resting, the pit stop is calm, routine, no rush. But during the race, that intense workout, every single millisecond counts, and the coordination has to be absolutely flawless. But to really appreciate the chaos of that race day pit stop, we first have to understand the calm. So let's set our baseline. What is your heart doing right now as you're just sitting here? Well, for most people at rest, we're looking at about 75 beats per minute. It's this nice, steady, efficient rhythm that's perfectly matched to what your body needs. No fuss, no drama. And what that means is that each complete heartbeat, what we call a cardiac cycle, takes about zero point 0.8 seconds. That's a pretty generous amount of time, all things considered. Now check this out. Here's how that zero point 0.8 seconds gets spent. The heart actually spends more time relaxing and filling up with blood, that's called diastole, than it does squeezing and pumping the blood out, which is called systole. See? It's a very relaxed, unhurried process. And this long filling time isn't just for lounging around. It's absolutely crucial. It makes sure the main pumping chambers get totally full. It gives the heart muscle itself time to get its own supply of blood and oxygen, and it allows the muscle to just recover between beats. It's a perfectly efficient system for a body at rest. Okay, but now you start that sprint. You hit that hill on your bike. The demand for oxygen skyrockets, and that calm, steady rhythm is completely shattered. Everything is about to change. Suddenly, your heart rate just explodes, more than doubling to 180 beats per minute. This is your heart slamming the accelerator to the floor, trying to get that precious oxygen out to your muscles. And the immediate consequence? The total time for each beat plummets from 0.8 seconds all the way down to just a third of a second. That F1 pit stop just went from a routine check to absolute high-speed chaos. And this insane speed creates the central problem of our whole story. Your heart is now locked in a desperate race against the clock, and frankly, it's facing a major crisis. So, how does the heart save all this time? You might think it just speeds everything up equally, but no, that's not what happens. Look at this. The pumping phase, systole, it gets a bit shorter, sure, but the filling phase, diastole, it gets absolutely crushed. It shrinks from half a second to barely a tenth of a second. And this chart really drives the point home. Look at that. The filling time is now just 0.13 seconds. The heart literally has less time to fill up with blood than it takes to pump it out. This is what we call the filling crisis. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. If there's no time to fill the tank, you can't pump anything out. So how on earth does the heart solve this? How does it avoid just pumping on empty? Okay, so the heart is in a serious jam, but this is where your body's genius engineering comes roaring to life. It deploys a whole high-performance toolkit to solve this filling crisis. This is the F1 pit crew in action, and it is a thing of beauty. First, your nervous system acts like the crew chief, shouting orders. It makes veins all over your body squeeze down, physically pushing blood back toward the heart way faster. At the exact same time, the heart's main pumping chamber is told to relax more quickly after each beat, so it actively sucks blood in like a vacuum. Then, just before the big pump, the atria, the smaller chambers on top, give one last powerful kick to top off the tanks. And finally, the pump itself is stronger, squeezing more forcefully to eject a greater percentage of the blood that's in there. It is a perfectly timed, all-out assault to fill and empty in the blink of an eye. So, all this high-speed drama, what's the point? What's the payoff for these incredible adaptations? And, more importantly, what happens if this finely tuned system can't keep up? While the goal is one thing, to massively increase your cardiac output. That's the total amount of blood your heart pumps out every minute. By beating faster while still managing to pump a good amount of blood with each beat, your heart can deliver a tidal wave of oxygen to your muscles, which is what lets you perform at your peak. And this is really where the rubber meets the road. A trained, healthy heart is built for this abuse. It's flexible, it's strong, and it fills easily even in that tiny time window. But an untrained heart or one with disease can be stiff and inefficient. It struggles to fill. For that kind of heart, a really high heart rate isn't a good thing. It can actually be dangerous, causing its output to drop and putting the heart muscle itself at risk. And this, right here, explains that famous paradox of elite athletes. You ever wonder why they have such crazy low resting heart rates? It's because their hearts are so incredibly powerful and efficient. At rest, they can afford to take it slow. But when the race starts, they have the capacity to handle those extreme rates and deliver a world-class performance.
Ultimately, understanding this amazing system isn't just a cool physiology lesson. It's a reminder that your heart is a performance machine, and it's a machine that adapts to the demands that you place on it. So it really leaves us with one final question to think about. How are you training yours?